This is the main event with me, Andrew Marchand. My guest today, we're going to talk about the biz. Moffetnathансon's one of the top analysts in the business, Robert Fishman. Robert, let's just start off real fast. When you look at the possibility of Paramount buying Warner Brothers Discovery, what would it mean for sports?
Well, it's a really big question. I'm happy to start. Thanks for having me. So essentially, sitting here today, we're still waiting for an actual bid. So there's a lot of different press reports around timing and even potential size of this. But getting to the heart of the question, I would say this means a lot from the sports standpoint because there's a lot of different ways we can unpack this. Just having a bigger competitor out there as a combined company, that alone kind of changes the landscape a little bit, because I think as we sit here today, without factoring in this deal, I think it's clear that from a traditional media standpoint, really Disney is the biggest and best positioned to withstand the future of this, all of the changes in the ecosystem that we've talked about in the past and happy to talk about again. As the eyeballs are shifting away from traditional pay TV, who is able to capture that in the new over-the-top world? So when we think about what this potential combination can be, I think where we have to start is it allows for another large competitive bidder for all of these sports rights in the future. And obviously there's a lot of questions as part of the deal in terms of how it's structured and what the balance sheets look like. But if you just put those two companies together, clearly sports should be a big part of the future strategy. And I think that allows them to be another big competitor when thinking about future sports rights.
Now, Robert's one of the top media analysts in the business. We've had him on previously. Always really great reaction. Because of this report from the Wall Street Journal, we could see that we talk about competition for ESPN. This actually could be, when you think of the assets that CBS has with the NFL, the Masters, the NCAA tournament, TNT Sports with baseball, hockey. They lost the NBA, but they have a lot of other things that they've picked up. The French Open. They also have and then all the NCAA tournament would be under one roof. When you look at it, would they be a true competitor for ESPN, or how do you look at that?
We still definitely believe ESPN's in a league of their own. No real pun intended. But at the same time, again, when you put all of these other sports assets together under one streaming platform, which eventually could be the outcome here, then it becomes something else, at least that we have to pay attention to as where the future of the industry is going. And the leagues, I would imagine, very much have to pay very close attention to, because if you're the NFL and you're thinking about your next big negotiation, which all of our eyes are towards, thinking about that option, that to me allows you to think about, can a CBS with a Warner Brothers be that other competitive bidder that might not have been able to be there in the same capacity without this potential deal? So to me, it really always comes back to the NFL and who's best positioned in that next renewal. And even fast forward or skipping back to today, as part of the change of control, how the NFL wants to deal with Paramount as part of this potential outcome.
We're presented by WSC Sports. As always, if you're not using them, you have to. Digital asset management, a library that actually gets sports. You got to highlight, just need a couple weeks later, it's right there, AI. Check it out at WSC-sports.com. The big question I want to ask you, is it smart? I mean, how do you look at it in terms of business-wise? We've seen these mergers before. They always kind of make some sense. Many times they don't work out. From your perspective, is it a smart move?
Just from a strategic standpoint, again, without getting into any of the financial pieces as we're waiting for details, I would say the strategic overlap of these two companies makes a lot of sense. And again, you have to start with streaming, because that's clearly the future of these companies and where David Ellison is looking to take Paramount, leading with the Paramount Plus and DTC strategy. When you put these two streaming services together, we've been talking about forever that the standalone services are not big enough to really compete here. This helps. This doesn't get them, to be clear, anywhere close to Netflix levels. So Netflix is still onto a league of their own. But at the very least, this helps close the gap and gets them probably more in the conversation with an Amazon or even a Disney. Again, still subscale relative to those platforms, but at least a lot closer. So I think from that standpoint, the strategic benefit of putting those together helps. Obviously, that there's a lot of details again that we would look to try to figure out how much of an overlapping subscriber base is really there. But with HBO being more of a coastal type of product versus Paramount Plus, largely more middle of America, if we want to completely generalize here, then naturally those two products should fit better together and have less cannibalization than if you put two other streaming services together. So that's where I would start. Obviously, there's a lot of other assets that come into play when I think about the linear networks and different strategies there. That has a lot of potential cost synergies that they can use to reinvest in other places of the company, including sports rights. And obviously the two studios and the combination there and how they deal with that. So the strategic benefit, even the fact that coming back to sports, these guys are partners already on NCAA, right? So there's already a working relationship, a long-standing one and a future one there that I think naturally aligns them to be together very nicely.
Yeah, and we're going to get into all the strategies, ESPN's current one, what CBS and Paramount are doing, but Fox, NBC, also baseball, football, of course. We'll look at NFL, and then the streamers, Netflix and Amazon. You want to listen to the rest of the podcast and hear everything Robert has to say and all our archives, andrewmarchand.com to become a full-time subscriber.